Imagine waking up in the Netherlands in the year 1200. First surprise, there is no Netherlands. Second surprise, your roommate is a cow. Not emotionally, literally. You are somewhere in the Low Countries, the area that will much later become the modern Netherlands. But nobody around you is saying, "Ah, yes, I am Dutch, citizen of a nice bike-friendly nation." Identity is local. You might live under a count, a bishop, a local lord, or in a Frisian community. The languages are regional too, early Dutch dialects, Frisian, Saxon varieties. Standard Dutch has not arrived, neither has decent coffee. So already, difficult morning. Most people are not living in postcard Amsterdam, because postcard Amsterdam does not exist yet. Around 1200, the future Amsterdam is still basically a small, wet settlement story near the Amstel, not a capital city with canals, tourists, and extremely confident bicycles. Your world is mostly rural, farmsteads, villages, coastal marshes, river areas, dunes, peatlands, and reclaimed patches of land that feel less like solid ground and more like earth with trust issues. So let's get out of bed. You wake in a long farmhouse made of timber, thatch, wattle, clay, and whatever local materials make sense in a wet place where the environment is constantly trying to become soup. Many medieval farmhouses in this region were long buildings, sometimes housing people, and livestock under one roof. One end is living space, another is stable, storage, tools, food, animals, family, all packed into one survival machine. Modern underfloor heating, pipes, medieval underfloor heating, large mammals breathing nearby. It is warmer than outside, yes. It also smells like smoke, damp wool, hay, manure, and cow opinions. There may be a hearth, but not a cozy fireplace from a Christmas movie. Smoke can gather in the rafters and escape slowly. Light is limited. Floors may be earth or simple surfaces covered with rushes or straw. Your home is not just a home. It is kitchen, barn, workshop, pantry, bedroom, repair shed, and emergency bunker against winter. Breakfast is not glamorous, but it is practical. Think rye bread, barley or oat porridge, peas, beans, dairy if you have animals, maybe cheese, butter, buttermilk, and fish if you live near water or trade routes. Archaeological plant evidence from medieval Dutch sites shows crops like rye, barley, oats, peas, beans, flax, and herbs, or flavorings like celery and mustard type plants. So your bowl might be thick grain mush with vegetables. Medieval comfort food, beige, warm, and legally distinct from wallpaper paste. You might drink ale or beer, especially when water is questionable, though water is also used depending on place and conditions. And here's the tragedy for a modern Dutch visitor. No potatoes, no stampot as we know it, no coffee, no chocolate, no tomatoes. The Americas have not entered the European kitchen yet. Your Dutch lunch is closer to dark bread and cheese than a cheerful supermarket bruja. Then the day begins. If you are like most ordinary people, your work is not one job. It is a rotating menu of please keep everyone alive. You tend cattle, sheep, pigs, or chickens. You milk, you mend, you haul, you plow, sow, weed, harvest, thresh. You spin, weave, brew, bake, repair tools, collect reeds, gather fuel, and keep an eye on the sky, like the weather personally owes you money. But in the western wet regions, there's another job hiding under everything: water management. The land here is not just lived on, it is negotiated with. From around the centuries before and around 1200, people were reclaiming peatlands by digging drainage channels. This is clever. Drain the wet peat, and suddenly you can farm it. Tiny problem. When peat dries, it shrinks and sinks. So the trick works, and then the land lowers itself, like a bad chair in a meeting. Lower land means more vulnerability to flooding, which means more ditches, banks, dikes, and maintenance. In some areas, local people were responsible for their own sections of dike or embankment. Imagine a homeowner association, except if John forgets his bit, the neighborhood becomes an aquarium. Water is everywhere. Useful, dangerous, transportation, boundary, food source, and villain. It brings fish and trade, but also floods, storms, and anxiety. A later medieval Netherlands will become famous for water engineering, but around 1200 this is still local, fragile, manual, and exhausting. The landscape is being hacked into habitability, one ditch at a time. By midday, you're muddy. Not cute, festival muddy. Historical muddy. Paths are soft, fields are wet, boots are imperfect, and laundry is not a button on a machine. Life is physically demanding. People are not cartoonishly filthy. Oh, they wash, clean, manage, waste, and understand practical hygiene in their own world. But daily comfort is limited. There is damp, smoke, insects, parasites, tooth wear from gritty food, infection risks, childbirth risks, injury risks, animal risks, cold that gets into your clothes and stays there like it pays rent. And then there is darkness. Once the sun goes down, artificial light is expensive and weak. Your evening entertainment options are firelight, conversation, work by hand, prayer, and wondering whether that noise outside is weather, animals, or the beginning of a very wet problem. Time is not organized by phone alarms. It is organized by the church. The bell is the village notification system, prayer reminder, timekeeper, emergency alert, social network, and medieval group chat. Christianity shapes the calendar through Sundays, saints' days, fasting periods, Easter, Christmas, Whitsun, baptisms, weddings, funerals, and local festivals. We know more about church institutions than every private thought in ordinary heads, so we should be careful not to pretend we can read everyone's mind. But the visible and invisible worlds were deeply connected for many people. A storm was not just weather, illness was not just biology. A bad harvest could feel like hunger, bad luck, divine warning, and community crisis all at once. People feared floods, disease, failed crops, hunger, sudden death, sin, judgment, demons, shame, and being cut off from the group, but they also celebrated weddings, church feasts, market days, harvest moments, saints' festivals, any excuse to gather, eat better than usual, and briefly not be alone with the mud. So what would shock a modern Dutch person most? Maybe the missing country, maybe the missing potatoes, maybe Amsterdam being a damp little coming soon sign. But probably it is the combination, the closeness of animals, the darkness, the smoke, the church-timed calendar, the lack of modern foods, and above all the fragility of the land itself. Today, a Dutch person might say, we live below sea level because of engineering. In 1200, someone might say, we live near sea level because we dug ditches, built banks, and are really hoping Peter fixed his section. Daily life was not knights, castles, and dramatic banquet halls. For most people, it was rye bread, cow breath, peat smoke, church bells, sore hands, wet fields, and the stubborn human decision to make unstable ground into home. The medieval Dutch lands were not a fairy tale. They were a damp experiment, and somehow, with enough ditches, cows, prayers, and mud, people made it work. If you enjoyed this tiny vacation to a colder, smellier Netherlands, subscribe, and be grateful your roommate probably does not chew cud.